All right. So have you ever thought about how, certain messages
Hmm.
can really bookend your life?
Yeah.
Like they set the stage for
Yeah,
how you approach faith and all that.
totally.
That's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
Unpacking this text titled, Listen to Him, a call to trust and obey.
Oh, yeah. I'm familiar with this one.
Yeah.
It's interesting you use the word bookend because we're focusing on two very specific moments in Jesus' ministry.
Yeah.
The wedding at Cana and the Transfiguration. Almost like
Mhm.
snapshots from the beginning and a pivotal turning point in his journey.
And the idea is to see how these moments can help us navigate our own lives of faith, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Each scene offers some pretty powerful insights into the nature of faith, trust, and obedience.
okay, so let's start with the wedding at Cana Wines Out could be a total disaster for the wedding
Oh,
party.
yeah, big time.
And Mary, Jesus' mother, steps in. But here's the thing, she doesn't freak out. She doesn't tell Jesus what to do.
Right.
She just tells the servants, do whatever he tells you. It's simple, but you think it's more than just wedding advice, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
This seemingly small instruction from Mary is actually a huge lesson in trust, wouldn't you say?
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, how often do we just jump in and try to fix things ourselves
All of the time.
instead of, like,
Yeah,
waiting
exactly.
and
Yeah.
trusting that maybe there's a bigger plan?
Yeah.
But is that gentle nudge always enough for people, or are there times when we need something more?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It does make you wonder if the people at the wedding really understood what they were witnessing at that moment. I mean, this is the very beginning of Jesus' ministry
Right.
and his first public miracle, turning water into wine.
Yeah. Talk about making an entrance.
Yeah. What a way to start things off.
It also makes you think,
Kinda, well,
what were the servants feeling? Were
Yeah.
they hesitant?
Yeah.
Excited? I mean, imagine being told to just blindly follow the instructions of someone who's about to attempt something as crazy as turning water into wine.
Yeah, I'd probably be a little skeptical, but also maybe a little intrigued. Like, what's going to happen here?
Yeah.
There's definitely a sense of Mary advocating for her son here, right?
Totally.
Trust him, he's got this.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful picture of a mother's faith in her child.
It is. And, it makes me think about those times in my own life when I felt that nudge, that gentle encouragement to trust, even when things don't make sense. Have you ever experienced that?
Oh, countless times. Those moments where you feel a pull towards something,
Yeah.
even if you can't fully explain it,
Yeah.
that's where faith really comes into play, isn't it?
Totally. But let's fast forward now to the Transfiguration. We go from this almost quiet scene at Cana to a mountaintop where Jesus' divine glory is revealed to Peter, James, and John. It's a pretty dramatic shift, right?
Absolutely. And the tone shifts, too. We get from Mary's gentle nudge to this powerful declaration from God the Father. This is my beloved son. Listen to him. It's not a suggestion anymore. It's a direct command.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that?
Well, it definitely feels more urgent, wouldn't you say? Like, the stakes are higher now. Plus, this happens right after Jesus foretells his death and resurrection.
Yeah.
So there's this sense of knowing what's to come.
And I think that context is crucial. The Father is essentially preparing his son and those closest to him
Right.
for what lies ahead. He's emphasizing the importance of listening and obeying, especially as they face increasing challenges.
So are you saying that we need that kind of firm direction,
Sometimes.
that listen up moment in our own faith journeys? Because let's face it, life can throw some curveballs.
Sometimes, absolutely. Think about it, those moments when you're facing a tough decision or maybe you're going through a difficult time.
Yeah.
Don't those experiences often make you stop and reevaluate who or what you're listening to?
Yeah, it's like you need that reminder to ground yourself, to remember who's really in control.
Exactly. And that's where these two bookends, these two
Yeah.
pivotal moments,
Yeah.
start to connect. Mary's quiet instruction at Cana foreshadows the unfolding of Jesus' authority, and the Father's declaration at the Transfiguration confirms it.
So it's like a progression starting with that initial seed of trust, that willingness to do whatever he tells you,
Right.
and then growing into a deeper understanding of his authority, the need for obedience, especially when things get tough.
That's a really insightful way to put it. And I think that progression is something we can all relate to in our own journeys of faith.
Okay, so we've got these two powerful images, a quiet beginning and a dramatic turning point. But what does it all mean for us today? What's the takeaway?
Well, I think the text is calling us to something deeper than just admiring these stories from afar. It's about seeing ourselves in them and recognizing that the same call to trust and obey Jesus applies to us today.
Right, it's not just an ancient story, it's a living message. But honestly, sometimes those big concepts can feel a little overwhelming. Like, okay, trust and obey, got it, but how?
I get that. It's like, where do I even begin?
Exactly. Luckily, this text doesn't just leave us hanging with these grand ideas. It actually gives us some pretty practical steps to apply this in our daily lives.
And those practical steps are where things start to get really interesting, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. But before we jump into those, let's take a quick break and we'll be back in a flash to break it all down. Okay, so we were just talking about how this text lays out some practical steps for us to actually apply these big ideas of trust and obedience. Where do we even begin?
Well, the first step might seem surprisingly simple. Start small. It's about recognizing those everyday opportunities to trust and obey, even in seemingly insignificant moments.
Okay, but how does that tie back to those grand stories of Cana and the Transfiguration?
It's all about building a foundation. Think about those servants at Cana.
Right.
They didn't know Jesus was about to perform a miracle. They were just doing what they were told, trusting in his instructions.
Okay.
It's that same kind of simple everyday trust that builds our faith over time.
So you're saying those small acts of obedience are like the building blocks for something bigger?
Exactly. The text even references Luke 16.0 here, which says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much."
It's like building those spiritual muscles one rep at a time.
Yeah,
You don't start by bench pressing 300 pounds, right?
exactly.
You got to work your way up.
And that brings us to the second step. Be intentional in your listening.
Okay.
This isn't just about passively hearing the words,
Mm-hmm.
but about actively engaging with what Jesus is saying to us.
Okay, so how do we do that? I mean, it's not like we can just pick up the phone and call Jesus.
Well, not exactly,
Duh.
but we do have his word through Scripture,
Yeah.
and we can talk to him directly through prayer. The key is to approach both with intention, with a genuine desire to hear what he has to say. Remember James 1.22.
I feel like you're going to quiz me now.
Be doers of the word and not hearers only.
Right. It's one thing to read the recipe,
Yes.
but actually got to get in the kitchen and cook something up, right?
Exactly. And the third step, trusting through trials, is where things get really real. Because let's face it, life isn't always smooth sailing.
Yeah, those curveballs you were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
they definitely show up.
And that's where this idea of trust becomes even more crucial. Because when we're facing those difficult times, when things feel uncertain or even scary,
Yeah.
that's when we need to lean into our faith the most.
But that can be so hard when you're in the middle of it, right? Like, where is God in all of this?
It's true. But the text reminds us that trusting Jesus in those difficult times actually leads to growth. It deepens our reliance on his power and helps us to see his hand at work, even in the midst of the storm.
It's like that saying, smooth seas don't make skilled sailors. Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
We need those challenges to grow and mature in our faith.
And speaking of growth,
Yeah.
one of the things I really appreciate about this text is how it encourages us to reflect on our own spiritual journeys.
Okay.
It poses some thought-provoking questions that I think are really valuable for anyone who's serious about following Jesus.
Okay, hit me with some of those questions. What kind of reflection are we talking about here?
Well, for starters, it asks, have you experienced moments of gentle guidance, like Mary's nudge at Cana, or those times when you felt a firm direction, like the Father's command at the Transfiguration?
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah,
It makes you stop and think, okay, have I ever felt like God was speaking to me directly, maybe not in a booming voice from heaven, but in those subtle nudges or those moments of clarity?
and then it challenges us to consider those areas where Jesus might be asking for our trust, even when the outcome is uncertain.
Yeah.
Are we willing to take that leap of faith, even when we don't have all the answers?
And what about how we're actually listening to him? Are we spending time in scripture? Are we praying? Are we paying attention to how he might be speaking to us through our circumstances?
Those are all great questions to ask ourselves.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, this journey of faith is about moving from simple trust to deeper obedience. And that requires us to be actively engaged in listening and responding.
So it's not just about blindly following rules or checking boxes. It's about cultivating a real dynamic relationship with Jesus, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of the most beautiful aspects of that relationship is the way it reflects the full spectrum of God's love. This text says, the mother's voice invites, the father's voice commands. Together, they remind us of the full spectrum of God's love. Tender yet firm, gentle yet unyielding, always for our growth and good.
Oh, that's powerful. It's like we see both the nurturing and the protective sides of God working together to guide us and shape us.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the central question.
Yeah.
Are we listening to him?
Yeah.
Are we tuning in to those different expressions of his love and responding with faith and obedience?
It's a question that deserves our honest and heartfelt reflection, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And here's where I think the text leaves us with a really intriguing puzzle, something to ponder as we continue our own deep dive into faith.
Oh, I love a good brain teaser. Lay it on me.
Okay, so we've talked about Mary's guidance at Cana, representing the gentle invitation of a mother's love. In the Father's declaration at the Transfiguration, reflecting the firm protection of a father's command. But where do we see the voice of Jesus himself in our lives?
Whoa, that is a good question. It's like we've been focusing on the supporting characters,
Right.
and now we're being challenged to seek out the leading role.
Exactly. We've heard the mother's encouragement, the father's affirmation, but what about the voice of the Son, the one who calls us to follow him? How do we recognize it amidst the noise and distractions of everyday life?
That's a powerful question. It's like we've been given a treasure map, and now it's up to us to embark on the adventure of discovery.
And you know what makes this deep dive so compelling is that it doesn't just give us answers,
Yeah.
but it sparks a curiosity and invitation to continue exploring the mysteries of faith and the depths of our relationship with Jesus.
It's about moving beyond the surface and delving into the heart of what it means to truly listen to him. But I feel like we need to unpack that a little more. How do we actually do that? How do we listen for his voice in the midst of all the other voices vying for our attention?
Well, I think that's where those practical steps we discussed earlier come back into play. Starting small,
Okay.
being intentional in our listening, and trusting him, especially in times of trial. It's a continuous process of tuning in and aligning ourselves with his will.
So it's not a one-time thing like checking off a box. It's about cultivating a habit, a way of life.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. And it's about recognizing that his voice can come to us in many different ways. Sometimes it might be a subtle whisper, other times it might be a loud and clear message. The key is to be open and receptive, to be constantly asking ourselves, am I listening?
And I think that's where those scripture references you mentioned earlier come in handy. They give us something concrete to hold on to, something to guide us as we try to discern his voice in our lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For instance, when it talks about starting small, it references Luke 16:10.
Okay.
Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much.
Right. It's a reminder that faithfulness in those small everyday moments is what lays the foundation for greater things to come.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating a habit of obedience, a willingness to say yes to him, even in the seemingly insignificant moments.
And then there's James 1.22, which talks about being doers of the word and not hearers only. This is a call to move beyond simply listening to actually applying what we learn, putting our faith into action.
Yeah, it's like the difference between reading a recipe and actually cooking the meal. It's in the doing, in the active engagement that we truly experience the transformation.
And finally, there's Proverbs 3.56.
Okay.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding in all your ways. Submit to him, and he will make your path straight. It's a beautiful reminder that even when we don't understand, even when the road ahead seems uncertain, we can trust in his guidance and his unwavering love.
I love how those verses serve as anchors, grounding us in truth and reminding us of the power that comes from aligning our lives with his word. But, it's interesting. We've talked a lot about trusting and obeying, but what about the role of love in all of this?
That's a great point. It's not just about following a set of rules,
Right.
but about engaging in a deeply personal relationship with a God who knows us intimately and cares for us deeply. And that's where love comes in.
Because without love, it's just empty obedience, right?
Exactly. And I think that's where the beauty of those two bookend stories comes in. They remind us of the different facets of God's love, the gentle invitation, the firm protection, and ultimately the self-sacrificing love of Jesus himself.
So it's like a tapestry woven with threads of grace, mercy, and unwavering love, all pointing us towards a deeper relationship with him.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And as we continue to listen, to seek his guidance, and to respond with love and obedience, we'll discover that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Because it's in the process of seeking, listening, and responding that we grow, transform, and become more fully who we were created to be, right?
Absolutely. And that brings us to what I think is the most profound takeaway from this deep dive.
Okay.
The invitation to personalize this message, to find those unique ways in which Jesus speaks to each of us.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Not at all. It's about embracing the deeply personal and intimate relationship we can have with Jesus, one that's tailored to our individual needs, experiences, and ways of perceiving the world.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it. Like, we all have access to the same scriptures, the same teachings,
Right.
but the way they come alive in our lives is unique to each of us.
Exactly. It's like learning a new language.
Hmm.
The vocabulary and grammar are the same for everyone, but the poetry and expression are uniquely our own.
And just like learning any language, it takes practice, patience, and a willingness to make mistakes along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There will be times when we misunderstand, misinterpret, or simply miss the message altogether. But the key is to keep listening, keep seeking, and keep refining our ability to hear his voice.
So it's about cultivating that sensitivity, that attunement to his presence in our lives. And sometimes it might be as subtle as a gentle nudge, a whisper of intuition, or an unexpected opportunity that presents itself.
Other times, it might be a loud and clear message, a profound experience that shakes us to our core and redirects our path.
But regardless of the form it takes, the message remains the same. Listen to him. It's a call to trust, to obey, to follow wherever he leads.
And as we do, we'll discover that the journey itself is filled with incredible beauty, meaning, and purpose.
Because it's in the process of seeking, listening, and responding that we grow, transform, and become more fully who we were created to be, right?
Absolutely. And that brings us to the end of this episode.
Okay.
I hope this deep dive has inspired you to continue exploring the depths of your faith and to listen attentively to the voice of Jesus in your lives.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with a sense of awe and wonder at the intricate tapestry of faith that's been woven before us. We've explored the gentle invitation of Mary, the firm command of the Father, and the intriguing challenge to seek out the voice of Jesus in our own lives.
And what I find so inspiring is that this is just the beginning. The exploration doesn't end here. It's an ongoing journey of discovery, one that invites us to delve deeper into the mysteries of faith and the boundless love of God.
So, dear listener, as you go about your day, as you encounter the joys and challenges that life throws your way, remember the words that have echoed throughout this deep dive. Listen to him. May they serve as a guiding light, a gentle reminder to seek his presence, to tune into his voice, and to trust in his unwavering guidance. For in listening to him, we find not only the path to a victorious life, but also the key to unlocking the fullness of who we were created to be.
And perhaps as you continue to listen, you'll discover that his voice has been with you all along, waiting patiently to be heard.
So it's like we've been handed this incredible framework for understanding God's love and guidance. And now we're challenged to make it personal, to find those unique ways Jesus speaks to each of us.
That's where the real beauty lies, isn't it? It's not a one-size-fits-all approach, but an invitation to a deeply personal and intimate relationship with Jesus, one tailored to our individual needs, experiences, and ways of seeing the world.
It's like we're all given the same ingredients,
Yeah.
but end up creating completely different dishes.
And just like with cooking, sometimes you have to experiment a bit to find what works best for you. You might try a recipe a few times before you really get it just right.
Exactly. There's that learning curve.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think that's something we don't talk about enough in our faith journeys. It's okay to not have it all figured out. It's okay to make mistakes,
Yeah.
to try things and see what happens.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
all part of the process. And that's where I think the idea of listening becomes so important. It's not just about hearing the words, but about being open to different ways of experiencing God's presence in our lives.
So how do we cultivate that kind of openness? How do we become more attuned to those whispers of guidance?
Well, I think it starts with being present in our own lives,
Yeah.
paying attention to what's going on around us, but also what's going on inside of us. Those gut feelings, those moments of intuition, those unexpected opportunities that seem to appear out of nowhere, those could all be ways that God is trying to get our attention.
It's like we need to declutter our minds and hearts a bit to make space for those quieter messages.
I love that analogy. It's so true. We live in a world that's constantly bombarding us with information and stimulation. It's no wonder we sometimes struggle to hear that still small voice.
So how do we create that space for silence, for reflection, for listening?
Well, I think it looks different for everyone.
Yeah.
For some people, it might be spending time in nature. For others, it might be through art or music or simply taking a few minutes each day to sit in silence and just be.
The important thing is to find what works for you, right?
Yeah.
What helps you to quiet those internal voices and tune into something deeper?
Exactly. And I think it's also important to remember that listening is not a passive activity. It requires effort, intentionality, and a willingness to respond.
So it's not just about sitting back and waiting for God to speak to us. It's
Right.
about actively seeking him, asking questions,
Yeah.
and being open to whatever he has to say.
That's a great way to put it. It's like we're partners in this dance of faith. We're not just following steps, but actively engaging with the music, with the rhythm, with our partner.
And sometimes that dance might be slow and gentle. Other times it might be fast and energetic. But the beauty is in the movement, in the connection, in the shared experience.
And that brings us back to the central message of this deep dive. Listen to him.
Yeah.
It's a call to trust, to obey, to follow wherever he leads.
And as we do, we'll discover that the journey itself is filled with incredible beauty, meaning, and purpose.
Because it's in the process of seeking, listening, and responding
Yeah.
that we become more fully who we were created to be.
So as we wrap up this episode, I want to encourage you, dear listener, to take this message to heart. Don't just let it wash over you. Let it sink in. Let it take root in your soul.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
The exploration doesn't end here. It's an ongoing journey of discovery, one that invites us to delve deeper into the mysteries of faith and the boundless love of God.
So as you go about your day, as you encounter the joys and challenges that life throws your way, remember to listen to him. Seek his presence, tune into his voice, and trust in his unwavering guidance. For in listening to him, we find not only the path to a victorious life, but also the key to unlocking the fullness of who we were created to be.
And perhaps as you continue to listen, you'll discover that his voice has been with you all along, waiting patiently to be heard.